Good day, and welcome to the tutorial on how to build an online store from scratch using WordPress WooCommerce. My name is Eric Smith, the founder of Primus Web, and I will be your guide on this journey we're about to embark upon. WooCommerce is the most popular shopping cart platform on the planet. It gives WordPress, a content management system primarily used for building web pages and blogs, the power to add products and capture payment. Now, that's a pretty big deal when you consider that online shopping is sweeping the world of global commerce. In fact, the pandemic only spurred the growth of digital commerce to unimaginable heights as consumers locked down at home moved their spending habits online, and this has not ceased. In this tutorial, you will learn how to configure and install WordPress and WooCommerce and set up an online store using free open source tools. If this all sounds like a plan to you, let's get started. So, what is WordPress? WordPress is an open source content management system. So open source meaning that it's free software, and it is a content management system, also known as a CMS. So a CMS makes building web pages easier and fast. Think of it as a tool, a piece of software, an application that allows you to organize content. So if you were to build a website from scratch using some of the technologies like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, just to do one page can take you a long time. And how fast you work depends on your experience as a developer/programmer. So a CMS does all of this for you, hence why it's called WordPress, because all you have to do is navigate software to create web pages. Think of WordPress as the ultimate page builder, web page builder actually. So WordPress was initially created for blogging, but as the years went on, it eventually began to add on more features like building web pages. So its biggest benefit, as I said, is time savings. You can create a WordPress website in less than a day. If you're really good at using WordPress, you can create a WordPress website within an hour. It might not be the best looking website because that takes time, but it takes more than 1 hour to build a good looking website. But you get my point. A functional website can be up in an hour using WordPress. So WordPress was founded in 2003 by a gentleman known as Matt Mullenweg. They have around 60% market share of a CMS market. So WordPress is, even though it is free open source software, it is owned by a for-profit company. But the software is provided for free by this for-profit company. That company is known as Automatic. So 14% of websites on the internet use WordPress. So it is one of the largest open source projects on the internet. 500 plus websites a day are built using WordPress. So when you think of it, that's a pretty big deal with some of the other popular content management systems like Shopify, for instance. Shopify averages about 30 websites built a day. So for scale, with WordPress, 500 plus. It goes to show you the power and the popularity of WordPress. So the picture at the bottom right is a image of Matt, who is the founder, Matt Mullenweg, who is the founder of WordPress. In case you were wondering, WordPress is the most popular CMS in the world. So WordPress is built on a plugin architecture. So a plugin architecture basically is when you can customize the software using scripts. So in this case, plugins. Plugin/scripts, the two are used interchangeably. So WordPress can be customized with code because it's open source. So unlike, let's say, Windows or Windows 10, right? Or any kind of Microsoft product, it's not open source. It's closed software, so you can't customize it to your liking. You can set configuration settings to your liking, but you cannot actually modify the code when you are using closed-ended platforms. So WordPress is completely expendable because it's built using a plugin architecture. And plugins essentially extend the functionality of WordPress. Okay, so think of a plugin as a script that extends the functionality of WordPress. So if we want WordPress to, in our case, capture payment, that's something that doesn't come native to a WordPress installation or to the WordPress application. So you need scripts for that. And WordPress has this plug and play system where you can add scripts very easily using their administrative dashboard. So WordPress is built using this technology. So one of the most popular plugins for WordPress that extends the functionality of WordPress to give it a shopping cart functionality, specifically in this case, is WooCommerce. So what is WooCommerce? WooCommerce, simply put, is a plugin that gives WordPress shopping cart functionality. So think of what a shopping cart, an online shopping cart, does. If you've gone to Amazon and you've purchased anything, you used a content management system, a shopping cart that is also a CMS, right? So you pay for your items, you check out, Amazon sends you a email notification about the product, when it'll arrive, the time it will arrive. All of these things are organized by the content management system. So this is an online shopping content management system. So this is how a shopping cart primarily works. Okay, it will capture payment, store the products, capture payment, and store the user's information in a database. It will also do things like list the item for sale. It will show you a image of the product, okay, an image of the product, in addition to the listing price of the product, description of the product. So WordPress by default is primarily used as a tool to build web pages in its modern iteration. And then I would say right after that, blogs. Okay, so think about blogging and the phenomenon that blogging was in the early 2000s, 2003, when WordPress was founded. That was a pretty big deal, that you could have a free open source tool that allowed you to host, okay, a blog onto a domain. So that was a pretty big deal at the time, and it still is. So when we're talking about WordPress today, we're thinking about, when we're talking about publishing pages, building general business websites. Okay, so if you look at some of a business, let's say a dentist website, okay, 9 times out of 10, they're probably using a CMS like WordPress to build pages, and obviously WordPress giving them the flexibility to take down these pages and create new ones, right, without touching any code. So primarily that's how WordPress is used. But WooCommerce was created by WordPress parent Automatic in 2011 to address a bigger need at the time. So 2011 was when you started to see a lot of these content management systems that were specifically made for online shopping and e-commerce. So WooCommerce was one of the players in that big field. And it became popular due to its ease of use. Now, there are many shopping carts out there, many open source shopping carts out there. And WooCommerce's big selling point at that time was that it was easy to use. And it is. Anybody can use it because the user interface it's very easy, it's very explainable. There's not a lot of, let's say, complexities to the script and to the software. And this is how WordPress Automatic was able to scale WooCommerce to these incredible numbers. So let's take a look at those numbers. So over the past 12 years at the time of this recording, we're in 2022 now. So WooCommerce plugin is downloaded at least 30 times every day from WordPress.org and from the WordPress.org repository, specifically speaking. 8.7% of all websites on the internet use WooCommerce. WooCommerce is the leading e-commerce platform with a 23% market share worldwide. Okay, that's higher than some popular CMSs like Shopify, Magento. Okay, WooCommerce is number one. So among all of the e-commerce websites on the internet, close to 13% use WooCommerce. Okay, so this is a little nifty little plugin that is just dominating the world of commerce. So it's important, if you're trying to create a WooCommerce website or an online store, you should know how to use WooCommerce, because anything that's possible that you see with some of the popular CMSs like Shopify is possible in WooCommerce. And you don't have to pay an arm and a leg to manage WooCommerce. So let's talk about what you will learn with introductions out of the way. Let's talk about what you will learn specifically in this tutorial. So we're going to set it up like a playlist. Okay, so you're going to learn how to install WordPress first. WordPress is needed in order to launch WooCommerce. Remember, WooCommerce is just a plugin and it only works with WordPress. So we're going to talk about how to install WordPress and WooCommerce. We're going to talk about WooCommerce in the terms of a configuration overview, the ideal setting for most businesses, most online stores. So we're going to cover that. We're going to talk about choosing a theme and the things that you should look for in a theme. You're also going to get a free theme that I think is the best one in terms of user interface and user experience design. And we'll talk about all of those things when we get to that actual lesson. We're going to install a WordPress theme. We're going to learn how to do that. We're going to learn how to add products and their associated variations. So we're going to have a fictional t-shirt store, golf t-shirt store where we're going to add products, but we're also going to add product attributes and variations. So one color t-shirt, let's say it's white, another one is red. How do we input these values into the system so that when the customer orders this product, we know exactly what they ordered? Okay, so WooCommerce has this flexibility, this complex functionality built into its native technologies. And then we're going to set up a payment gateway. So specifically PayPal and Stripe, the two most popular gateways for WooCommerce, using the PayPal and Stripe API. API stands for Application Programming Interface. And then we're going to cover an essentials plugins list. So the plugins you absolutely should use with WooCommerce. And then finally, we're going to talk about setting up a CDN. So a CDN is a content distribution network. And basically what a content distribution network allows us to do is distribute our images and assets evenly by region using a cloud computing service so that our pages load faster. That's important today, especially when you're using something like a shared hosting platform, since you're sharing resources with other users, okay? So we're going to talk about how we can get the most out of WooCommerce by adding things to it. So an essentials plugin list, and then using a content distribution network. So if all of these things sound good to you, let's get started. There's a lot to cover.